So the challenge that I gave you earlier was to figure out a way to change this color here. As we say, make it rain, right? At a certain point, let's say at 20,000, I wanted you to change the color of the text here, right? So if you were able to do this, congratulations, and I hope you were able to also share that with all of us so we can congratulate you on this awesome challenge. If not, no worries, and right now I'm going to show you one of the ways in which you can do that. Now the cool thing here is that we could have used if statements, right? We could have say if my counter is equal to say 20,000, and then we're going to change the text color because this is just a text view. Now, let's see, how do we actually change a text view in code here? Or rather, how do we change the text view color? Well, simply, if we go back to our project here, in fact, I don't need to go there. Let's go back to our main activity XML there. If you look at this, would be a text view, as you know, so would this, but let's click on this one here. So you notice here, I can come up there and search for, let's say, color. The moment you type color, you're going to see there's shadow color, there's text color highlight, text color hint, and text color link, and all sort of things, right? Now this text color link here, it has a color because it comes with the theme of our Android app. We'll talk more about themes at a later time. But in any case, you can see here we have a text color. So you can actually come here, just like we did before. You can even add a text color here, a color you want, or you can click here and get one of these colors. Now we can get color from our color, as you can see there. There's this color project from array, which we don't have, from styles, and all sort of things, right? So if we go back to color here, there is this Android colors we can choose from, okay? So we can change the color of our text this way. But at this point here, what we want to do, we don't want to change our color right now. We want to change it dynamically, right? Once certain conditions were met. To do that, it's very simple. Let's practice a little bit here. So I can say money text, because it's just a text view, right? Say dot set text color. Now the set text color, it says that it requires an integer because the color that we have to pass here has to be a int color. Now the reason why it's an int is because, well, first of all, the way Android library was built. As time goes by, you notice that a lot of things that are related to user interface are integers, because you can see here the int res ID. That means we can actually pass a resources ID inside here, meaning I can put colors. Let's go back to our project here. Notice if we go to values, there is indeed a colors XML. Look at this. All these colors are actually added automatically for us. We can actually put our own color here too. I can say color, give it a name, say my color, and I'm going to pass a hex color. So hex color represents colors in the web and of course in many other development kits. In this case here, you have to start with pound, and then you can go ahead and say CED like this. That would suffice. And you can see here we have the color. If you click that, notice you have this tooltip, so you can actually change the color yourself here, right? So let's say if I want to get this color here, the moment you click that, look at that. It went ahead and changed to the actual hexadecimal there. Okay, so it's pretty handy. So whenever you want to add a color for your application here inside of our colors.xml, you could come here and do exactly as I did. So always put something first and then click here. Then this tooltip is going to show up, and then you can change as you wish to change. So for us to set our color here, what we need to do, let's go ahead and say money.set text color, as you can see there. Okay. There's a few things we can do here. There's this set color where we can just go ahead and pass the int. Let's try that. So I'm going to say r.color and get my color. Notice we're going to have a problem here. If you hover over, it's going to say we should instead use the get resources method, right? That get color and then pass the my color. That's how we should do this. Now you may say, well, why is it so complicated? Why can't we just go ahead and do like this? There's a lot of things that happen when we just access directly as that, especially when it comes to getting resources. Now, in certain cases, it's easier to do so, because if you remember correctly, to find view by ID, just say r.id money.text. But for anything else, you have to use the get resources method. Now, the get resource is one of those methods because we're inside of an activity, it's just available to us. So I can go ahead here and say get resources, right? dot, I can say then get color, or can get whatever else that I would want. In this case is get color. So I'm going to say get color, and I need to pass something. And it gives us an idea of things that we can pass. At the top here, we have this colors res int ID. So color resource that we can pass here, which is going to be an int ID. Like I said, when we're passing things around through the R, usually everything comes in as an integer. That's why we have the int type. Okay, so in this case here, I'm just going to say r.color.mycolor. And voila, now we have it all working. Sometimes, depending on the level of the API that we're using to build this application, we will see some sort of warnings and errors and so forth. But most of the time, this is how you would do it. Very good. So I'm going to save this. If you do that, let's go ahead and give it a quick run. At this point, we're just testing things out to make sure that things actually work. So let's go ahead and say make it rain. The moment you do that, it went ahead and gave us this color here because it's inside of our make it rain. So right away, the moment you click on it, goes ahead and changes the color to my color, which is what we did here. We created this my color there, right? So I can come again here if I want to change to something a little bit less aggressive. If I save, refresh again, the moment you click, look at that. There's that yellow color here. Okay. And the beauty also here in our main, you can see the color has changed here as well. Very good. So now we understand how to set text color, or how to add those attributes that we were able to add in our visual representation here in our design. Coming to our attributes here. Obviously, we can always do that also in our main activity. That's the idea, right? So everything, all the properties that we can access, attributes we can access in this form here, obviously we can then access them as well using straight Java. But okay, so now we understand how to get our colors and how to put them there. So how do we then go through and say, for instance, once we get to 30,000 or 20,000, we want to change this color here to make this a little bit more dynamic? Well, it's very easy. We can use the if statements, right? Say if my counter is equal to 20,000, for instance, then we run this code. But that would work if we only have one if statement, because in this case here, I want to create some sort of hierarchy that would say, okay, at 20,000, we are going to change the color, let's say to my color. And at 30,000 or at 60,000, I'm going to change to another color, and so forth. Okay, how do we do that? Well, I'm going to introduce to you here a switch statement. A switch statement is very handy because it tackles all of these problems, especially when we don't want to nest everything into an if statement. Okay, so in this case here, I can say switch, there we go. And a switch here, it will require some sort of expression here to pass what is it that is going to regulate our cases, because switch has its cases, right? So the idea is if something is 1,000, for instance, our counter is 1,000, that case is going to do something. Okay. If in case of our money counter here is 30,000, we're going to do something. So that is the idea here. So we need to pass an expression. Now, what is the expression we're going to pass here? Well, simply we're going to pass the money counter, because this is indeed what's going to be driving our switch case here. Make sense? So I'm going to put the body, and then I'm going to start with case. So what happens in the first case? Well, the first case is when? Well, the first case I want to be 20,000, like that. And I put colon, like this. That means then inside here, I'm going to run something. The moment money counter gets to 20,000, in case 20,000 here, we want to change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, or cut it all, and put it all there. Okay? Except I don't want to add this color here. That was just an example. I want to add a different color, for instance, a black color. So I can actually come and say color using the color class dot. Now, the color class you can just use whenever you want. There are already some predefined colors. We can just call them right away. So in this case here, I can pass, for instance, black. Look at that. And that works. Except it doesn't. The reason why is because it's expected a color from resource ID, because we say we want to get from resources get color. So this we're not getting from our colors resource here. That's why it's having a problem. So how do we solve this? So like I said, there's always different ways of doing things in Android. This works if, as you know by now, if we want to get the color from our resources that we added here ourselves. But if we would just want to use the color class, as you saw here, we could just go literally, go something like this, money text, dot set text color and say color class dot black. Voila. And we don't need to do this. Now, the cool thing here, we also have to go ahead and say break. We have to put the break to say, okay, once it's 20,000 and do this, and just going to break out of this to then continue with our case. The next case is going to be what? I want something to happen at what? At 40,000. Let's keep going. 40,000 there, port colon. I'm going to do money text dot set color like that. I'm going to say color dot yellow. Okay, break again. Now the case is going to be case when I am at 60,000. What I want to happen, again, money text set color. I'm going to say color dot green. So we are really getting rich at this point. Do break. Okay, there we go. We can continue with many other cases as you wish. In fact, I want you to do so, but I will stop here. Now, to finish our switch case here, we need to put a default case. So every switch case should have a default case. In this case, we don't need to put anything our default. We could say as a default case, meaning that nothing has been reached. For instance, it's not 20,000, it's not 40,000, whatever. It's just plain default. We can say something like, okay, set color to something else, but we don't want to do anything. In this case, we can just leave as it is, and I'm going to just go ahead and break out of it. Okay, very good. So I'm going to get rid of this and put it at the top here so you see other ways to get from resources. I'm going to say here, get colors from our colors.xml resource, like that. And that's it. So now we have money counter inside our switch. Each time it should work. If it's 20,000, it's going to change the color to black. If it gets to the threshold of 40,000, it's going to make it yellow, and 60,000 green. Let's go ahead and give it a test so that we can see all of these in action. All right, so applied changes. I'm going to go, let's see, 20,000. And voila, now it's black. Let's keep going. To 40,000. Voila. There we go. It's yellow. Oh, let's go 60,000. See what's going to happen. And there we go. 60,000. Now it is indeed green. All right, there we go. So I know this took a little bit longer, but that was because I wanted to show you this switch case statements here as a new way of doing that. And of course, you could have done this using an if statement. All right, perfect. I'll see you next.